Hi there, welcome to my test of the Scorch Marker Pro, the wood burning tool. Just to let you know, this is not sponsored in any way by anybody. So I spotted the Scorch Marker at Michael's and decided to give it a test because wood burning with a traditional wood burning iron can pose some difficulties, and I thought if there was something out there that made that a little bit easier, I wanted to try it out. So what you're seeing here is the Scorch Marker in action. I took a photo that I had and I did some tweaking in GIMP, and you can see right there what my template looked like. I traced that onto the piece of basswood, and then I went over the tracing with the Scorch Marker. Of course, I spilled it. One end has a brush with a well of the ink in it, and of course that spilled. After testing it out and burning it pretty well, I did like the results, but I still couldn't get any mid-tones. So I did take out my traditional wood burning iron, picked out a couple of nibs to try, and ended up going over quite a lot of it because you could see in this clip here there's still a purplish hue to especially those trees there in the background, and it should burn all the way to black. So of course I could apply the heat gun for a much longer amount of time. That's fine. But again, I was also looking for mid-tones. So I wanted to add more to the naked wood of the deer image itself and a little bit of shading in the background so it didn't look so out of place. It looked more like it was part of a scene. I did blast it again with the heat gun just to try and get all of that purple to turn black. And that's after the first pass with the wood burner. And I wasn't too unhappy with how it came out. So here I went down to the workshop and mixed up what's called tar bender, and it's used for bar tops. By Smooth On, again, not sponsored. What I had a problem with when I've used this, I've used it only once in the past, and then again with this, is that there are a lot of micro bubbles, and I've only seen debubbling done with epoxy resin. So I wasn't sure if it was something that I could do with this product, but it probably can be done. There's only a 45-minute working time with the tar bender. I don't know why, but I felt rushed, even though 45 minutes is a pretty good chunk amount of time for something this tiny. And you don't need very much to do a top coat like this. And it can get messy because you want to get the sides in most cases. At least I did because of this beautiful bark that was there. I wanted to keep that intact. And here's where it gets really messy. I decided to just go ahead and use my gloved hands to get to those bark edges. In the end, it actually does succumb to gravity, and there are some drips on the back of this plaque, but since this was a test, I wasn't that worried about it, and I'm not going to bother sanding it down. You can see me struggling with the level there, and in this case I was using it to level out the tray that I was using. I have a double tray going on here. I think I mixed up about 1.5 ounces of the tar bender for this tiny plaque, and plenty of it poured down onto the tray underneath. And take a long neck lighter, give it a good blast. I didn't have my blowtorch around, so the lighter, I gave it a shot. I don't think it really did anything. Wouldn't you know it, of course, I found cat hair before I had the chance to remove it. But that's just something that happens in any project I do. Whoops, yep, getting my respirator caught in my hair. So this is what it looks like before curing. And again, if you take a really close look, you can see the micro bubbles, but 5 feet away, you can't see anything. What I started to notice then as the top coat started to move around and absorb into the wood itself, which by the way I did treat not with anything fancy. I just used some watered down white glue before pouring the top coat. And then I noticed that there was still somehow that Scorch Marker purple ink underneath the charred parts, and you can see right there along the deer's neck and the cheek, that purple ink just started to bleed out again. I don't know why. And you can also see all of the micro bubbles from that close-up shot. But again, this is before it cured, and it looks pretty much the same, although I will say that the bubbles dissipated quite a bit. And now a look at the final result after the tarbender cured. There it is. I did add some white dots to the doe's eyes using a paint marker. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. After all that, would I recommend the Scorch Marker Pro? I actually do. I think it's a great introduction to a safe way to get into wood burning. Obviously, a heat gun can get very hot and you still have to be careful with that. Go to their YouTube channel and they have much better tutorials and lessons of ways that you can use it. They use things like the vinyl cut stencils, and I don't have access to any of that. So this is a matter of me using stuff straight from one of my drawings, which was taken from a photo that I took. Thanks for watching.